and welcome to What's New. Hi, Ars.
Hi, Mary.
Ann.
Hi, Mary.
Tonight's guest is going to be our city administrator, Martin Toma, and if you have any questions, feel free to call him at 883-7675. And Ars, I will turn it over to you.
Okay. We didn't have much success getting questions. We've got a couple, but that's it. So I hope you have a little other things to say. And if any of you guys out there in the audience, we have an audience tonight.
That's right.
If anybody out there has anything to ask Mr. Toma, feel free. Okay. The first one is kind of like a statement. I want my cable money going to the local TV channels, not anything else. How can we be sure this happens?
Well, let's talk about kind of the history of community access television, and
That would
then
be
we
good.
can discuss how you make that happen.
Okay,
Okay.
that would be good.
Back in the early 80s, cable television companies were roaming the countryside trying to get their systems set up in cities and in unincorporated areas. And the cities, more than the counties, have control of their right-of-way. And in order to get permission to use the city rights-of-way, the utility, in this case cable television, came to the city and asked for a franchise. The same way Ameren, or not Ameren, in this case Citizens Electric, comes to the city for a franchise, or AT&T, back then it was Southwestern Bell probably, came to the city for a franchise. And in exchange for the permission that the city gave to those utilities to use their right-of-way to deliver the service from which they profit, they negotiated with the city certain benefits that the city would receive and then be able to spend for the benefit of the citizens within the city. And most often that was a fee called the franchise fee. And some portion of their revenue is paid back to the city so the city can continue to thrive, and that preserves or builds their customer base, and everybody wins from that arrangement. In the case of cable television, the franchise agreement called for the cable television provider to provide a community access television station. And in that franchise, there were two elements. One was the franchise fee, where the cable company provided a percentage of their gross receipts to the city so that the city could maintain itself, so they kept their customer base. And the other was called a public education and government grant. It's called the PEG fee.
Oh, okay.
And that money was presumably for the maintenance of the public television station. So the PEG receipts went to the television station, and the city collected its franchise fee. But it was important to the city, I think, I wasn't here, to have this television station available for the citizens to promote and air programs such as this. So these cable television companies had franchise agreements all over the state, and everyone might be a little different, and everyone, in Jefferson County, as an example, you didn't negotiate with the city, you negotiated with a not-for-profit corporation that the city's established. So they would have better bargaining power when they came there, and the public access television station in Jefferson County is operated by the community college. So they're all different permutations of that. Well, the cable television operators, I guess, got tired of that. And as their franchise agreements were lapsing, and usually a 20-year agreement, they said there must be a better way to do this. So they were able to get the state legislature to adopt a statewide franchise. So at the expiration of their franchise agreement, the cable television stations had the option of either renewing their agreement with the city or signing on to the statewide franchise agreement. And in our case, Charter signed on to the statewide agreement. And that agreement did not require the PEG grant. So the PEG, public education funds that were going directly from the cable company, well, through the city to the television station, ceased to exist as of this year.
This year?
2012.
Oh, really?
Wow.
And so that source of revenue was no longer available to them to program and pay for cameras and pay the manager's salary and do those things. But the franchise fee continues to be paid to the city based on the gross receipts of the cable company. And so the question that was raised recently by the board of the cable company is, we've lost one source of funding. The city has been receiving X number of dollars from cable subscribers, and having public access television available to those subscribers is an important part of keeping them subscribers. So if we didn't have the public access television, then possibly the number of people who subscribe to cable television would go down. They'd opt for other programming or other ways of getting their television. And so the receipts that would be coming into the city would likewise go down. So after hearing all the pros and cons of that, the Board of Aldermen agreed to give additional funds, $8,000 more this year in the coming budget than they had in the past. But to say that all of that money, and when that person says all of my money should go to public television, is a policy decision that the elected officials have to make when they're balancing the needs of the community and trying to figure out how to divide this revenue stream that they have among the various things that they have to do. That same person wouldn't be happy if the road didn't get fixed in front of their house.
Right.
Now, I have a question. If Charter pays it, does Dish and all the other ones pay it?
They aren't using the right-of-way.
Oh, okay.
Now, there is an argument that those
But don't,
that should be paid the way someone pays it's called a use tax.
User fee.
And it's just hard to capture. And we in the Missouri Municipal League are investigating ways that we could do that. But it's kind of like, do we charge KMOX for providing television service over the airways to your home? How do we do that?
Yeah, that's true.
Question.
Okay. Now
Okay.
we understand
Now
cable.
we understand cable.
But I didn't know it only ended this year, the contract.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering about the asking for the
Yeah.
raise.
Now, we still will receive the franchise fee because it will come from the state to us.
Right.
And it's going to be on the same basic percentage that we had before. There's no significant loss of that revenue.
Well, that's good.
And it would go up if we got more subscribers and down if there are fewer.
So it's all based on how many
Subscriber.
subscribe to cable.
Ooh.
So, everybody.
Well, if
subscribe to
anybody
cable?
has a question, feel free to call us.
Yep. Okay, the next concern with one of the people, one of the questions, was why did the city close the swimming pool?
Well, I wasn't
So-
here when the cities closed the swimming pool, so any information I have is secondhand. You have suggested you were here, and you think you know why it was closed. What I've heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that it leaked
Leaked, right.
Badly.
and had other kind of operational problems in terms of the plumbing, and that the cost of repairing it was not within the means of the city.
Right.
And that you could have built a new one before you could have fixed that one. So it's been sitting there ever since.
Right. When did it close?
We
Do you know when it
remember
closed?
closed. I
Any
know it's been closed for quite a while.
of you guys remember when it closed?
Probably, I bet 4 years ago.
Yeah, I heard
Four?
5, but
Five.
I don't know, maybe 4. But
So why don't they put an outdoor pool out by the community center, so there's an indoor and an outdoor pool?
that would be something that the board
There's a
would
lot of
consider.
area out back that doesn't get used, and it'd be awesome to connect like some kind of a walkway from the indoor one to the outdoor one for the summertime.
Like some of the big hotels have?
Of course, well, something like that, I mean, but
Or a
if
big
you had an
water
outdoor
park.
pool out there, it would increase all kinds of activity out there too.
Can he be
because
heard from there?
The outdoor pool, I'd rather go to an outdoor one than an indoor one in the summertime, you know, just because it's summer.
Well, I mean, plus you don't have that chlorine smell.
Well, that's true too.
Not as
Chlorine's a
bad.
good thing.
Yeah, chlorine gets rid of bad stuff.
Chlorine kills bad
Yeah,
stuff
well.
in you, you know.
But before we
That is
answer
what
the
it is.
second part of that question,
Okay,
I would like to shift gears,
okay,
talk about kind of the city budget process.
sure,
And
that's
then we can
fine.
kind of come back, because the second question really relates to the
Right.
city's ability to spend money.
Okay. That'll be
Um,
good.
I've been here almost 2 years. And I came in, the city was funding its budget at the level of service that it could afford. But the way it was doing it is it was benefiting from some really good tax receipt years that preceded my arrival. Well, actually, several years prior to my arrival. And they were carrying over funds that weren't spent in the prior budget year, and then spending portions of that to keep the budget going for the subsequent year. And that was a policy decision that the board made, because they didn't ever want to, if they could avoid it, didn't want to reduce the level of service that the citizens were receiving. Last year, the first year for which I was responsible for a budget, we did that again. This year, the second year for which I am responsible for a budget, we are doing it again. Because the revenue of the city is not growing. It's staying pretty much the same. Now, we're very fortunate, because our revenue is staying pretty constant. There are other cities all over the country, and many in this area, that have crashed. And cities not too far from here have laid off their public works department and just have done some pretty dramatic things. Stopped chlorinating their water.
That's bad.
Fluoridating, I should say, their water.
Yeah.
But it you know, there's been this contraction of services. St. Louis County is talking about closing parks, and I mean, it's just, everybody's had to react. So again, St. Genevieve has been fortunate. You didn't you prosper from the kind of run up the way some other cities did. But the same token, you're not suffering on the backside of the
We
economic
didn't
cycle.
decline.
Right. Except we're at the point now where the city has kind of used the last of those carryover reserves. And next year will be difficult unless the economy picks up and sales tax pick up and some good things happen. So I can't predict what we're going to do or have to do next year to kind of hold our own. But this year is a good reflection of it. We're only able to do one major public works project this year, and that is to remove and replace Portis Street. Portis is a heavily used thoroughfare from highway to highway. It's got terrible drainage problems, so when we have heavy rains, it's kind of covered with water. It's been overlaid enough times that the pavement is now to the level of sidewalks, and it just needs to be taken out and redone. And the Board of Aldermen kind of bit the bullet this year and said, you know, we need that. We said last year that that was what we were going to do in 2013, so we're going to do what we said we were going to do, with the knowledge that that cushion they've always had is now being diminished kind of rather significantly. And hopefully, as I say, we'll go into next year with something great having happened in 2013 that will allow us to continue. If not, we're going to have to think about, the board's going to have to think about what they're not going to do in 2014 that they have been doing all along. A swimming pool, as you have discovered, costs between $1 and $2 million.
Right.
That would be a fourth of the city's budget. just right off the top. I have investigated, to the best of my ability, grants and ways of paying for a swimming pool. There aren't any. You can get trail grants there's lots of little things you can do, but $2 million for a swimming pool is not something anybody's going to give us.
It's not feasible with the economy the way it is.
Now, the swimming pool we have can't be fixed, as we've discussed,
Right.
because, for a couple of reasons, but most of them are structural. But a swimming pool today will not look like that.
No.
It's got to have a different plumbing system, a different disinfection system. It's got to have segregated, for kiddie pools have to be segregated from adult pools. It's just a whole different environment in which we live with health department regulations, and you just can't recreate that pool.
Right.
Then there's the question of whether a swimming pool can support itself. Generally, they do not support themselves. A city may choose to have them, and many have, as Fenton and Arnold, and you can talk about a lot of cities that have recreation centers, and St. Genevieve is very lucky to have the center that we have.
Right.
And you should count your blessings. Recently, Arnold was talking about having to close portions of their recreation center because the operating expenses just aren't covered by the memberships or the revenue that the users pay. So we're sitting here looking at the potential of spending in capital expense 25% of our budget for something that's going to continue to cost money when maybe in 2014 we're not going to be able to fix our streets.
Right.
That's the kind of dilemma that the Board of Aldermen has to face when they make a budget. If the community wanted a pool, the traditional way of making that capital improvement is to vote a bond issue or vote an increase, that would be paid for by an increase in the park tax. And then we would sell memberships. But the debt on the capital that we spend would have to be paid back through an increase in the park tax that the voters would support.
Right.
I'd be more than willing to cooperate with anyone who wants to undertake that campaign.
Any takers?
I don't hear
Yeah.
a phone ringing or
Yeah.
anything with volunteers.
And so the question is, will we ever have another outside pool?
Never say never.
So that's a good saying, never say
According
never.
to the economy.
And the willingness of the people who want it to pay for it.
Right.
Because the days of the federal government coming in and saying, here's your pool, are over.
That's over with, yeah. That's understandable.
So if some good Samaritan would come along and say, here's your pool.
Or somebody could win the lotto.
Yeah, somebody
I
did.
know from here in town.
Oh, my gosh.
But even if somebody gave you the money to build it,
You still
You
have
you're
still
going to
have
have
to
to deal
maintenance.
with whether it will generate the revenue to operate it.
Right.
The electric and the water and the manpower.
Right. And everything's a lot more expensive now.
Everybody
than it
tells
was.
me, I grew up with that pool, or I worked there, and
Right.
yeah, I understand. And it would be a wonderful thing to have today.
It would. But things change and times change, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, our lives change as we get older. So, okay, those are the only 3 questions that we got. I'm sure other people in the audience
Well,
have.
Mark must be doing one heck of a job. because-
Exactly. Exactly. And
Or you scare people, one or the other.
I've been told that I
You
intimidate.
scare people.
or our city is just so wonderful the way it is.
It is a wonderful city.
It is.
Let me tell you, because I'm not from here, and I chose to be here because circumstances were such that it was the right move for me at the time. I, for the last 30 years, have lived 60 miles up the road, 50. And I'd visited a couple of times over that period. I had no idea about this community and what it really was. So I come here and I start meeting people. And they say, our school system's really good. We're top 20 in academic performance at St. Genevieve. And the sports is known throughout this part of Missouri because for some reason this town produces good sports teams.
They sure do.
Year after year after year after year.
Even years ago when I was in school,
Oh,
we had
yes.
good ones.
It was right back here.
There's a group of people who live here, not because they were born here, not because they were forced to live here for business reasons. So many of these people could live in any country in the world that they want to live, and they've chosen to live in St. Genevieve. They have an internet business, or they're retired military, and again, they're not from here. I mean, I understand somebody grew up here, goes off, comes back. These are people that discovered St. Genevieve and said, that's where I want to be. And you know, every month, except for 2 or 3 months out of the year, you don't have to be sitting at home if you don't want to be.
That's
There's
right.
something going on in
That's
this
right.
town.
That's right.
And if you just get out there and take and partake in it, you'll realize that it's a much more complicated community than other communities of this size within an hour or less driving distance. There just isn't any place around like St. Genevieve. So it's a grand place to be, and I'm glad to be here.
Well,
I'm glad to
that's
have
very
you.
nice,
Thank you.
yeah.
He's also an actor.
Yes, he is.
Don't
Yes,
say it like that.
we saw you. It was
I'm
good.
acting now. I'm just playing a different role. This is my city administrator's role.
You
We
wear
wear a
different
lot
hats.
of hats.
That was good,
Many
though.
hats.
Yes.
It was nice to have you, what would you say, an official from the city to participate in something like that. It was great.
Yes.
Well, I don't want
Yeah,
to
all
comment
over.
on the people that preceded me, because I'm sure they were honorable people, but I get that a lot, and not just about performing in a little local production, but, you know, I go to meetings and like the community television, when I'm not done with something else scheduled on Tuesday night, and we have people who are volunteering their time to serve the community, somebody from the city ought to be there paying attention. And I think that's my job. So I go to those, and I go to the park board meetings, and I go to the tourism advisory council meetings, because
And that way you keep up too on what's
how am I supposed to
going
know
on.
what's going on? I mean, I'm the guy that's supposed to be running the show.
So you gotta know what's going on.
But apparently it hadn't always been that way.
No.
Somebody
No.
was jokingly said today, why do we have a city administrator?
Well,
I mean, they were joking when
Ask
they
Pam that
said it.
question.
Yeah, they were joking.
largely,
Pam knows why.
I mean, aside from the fact that I think I know things that the city will benefit from.
Right,
Because of
right.
my education, background, and experience, I can bring something of value to the community. Ultimately, somebody has to make decisions. And I can be out of the office and things will run smoothly, because I got to tell you, the staff of this city knows what they're doing. But at some point, somebody has to say, go left when the time comes, or go right.
Right.
Reach that fork in the road. And then somebody has to be responsible for the decision. So most of my time, aside from writing grants and doing payroll and putting budgets in, is really decision-making. And trying to make the best decision I can for the benefit of the community I serve. And that's really the role of the city administrator.
And that's why we wanted suggestions from the people in
Yes.
in the community, so we can build a better community.
So what we can do is, if people want to, we'll keep our question box handy. And if anybody thinks of any questions they would want to ask, on any kind of subject for the city,
Right. We can
put
just
it
leave them
in
here
the
at
box,
the city hall. Yeah.
and we can always get a hold of Mr. Toma, and he would be more than, I know he would be more than glad to come back and be with
Oh, of course I
us.
would. And the ordinances of the city of St. Genevieve, as they relate to the city administrator, require that I have an open office. And it is open to anyone who wants to come say anything to me, call City Hall, ask for me. I'll answer the question, or deal with the problem if I can, or tell you, I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do for you, which is often the answer, but I try and make it as infrequent as possible. Particularly when somebody wants me to cut the grass.
You're not up for hard.
We don't do
Oh, well, thank you very,
Yeah.
very much. Is there anything else that you?
How long do you want me to go on?
You can talk as long
talk
as
as
you
long
want
as you want, or you can
If you got
wrap
more.
it up, or
Well, I'm going to go through my little list here.
Okay, go right ahead.
okay.
I anticipate
It's
it.
not
All
a
right.
2-hour list, is it? Okay, then you have our okay.
But these are things that people should know.
All right.
We are starting the process of revising the comprehensive plan for the city. That doesn't mean anything to most people, but it's a very important document because when the city makes land use decisions, when people come to the city and say, you know, I want to put my business here, or I want to change the zoning for this parcel of ground, the rules by which they develop it have to be valid and legitimate, and it starts with this. And this plan is old now, 1997. It's time, 15 years old. It's time to be reviewed, and we're starting the process for doing it. Ultimately, every decision we make relative to land use, building codes, and zoning ordinance have to be justified first by this document. And in order, if somebody were to challenge it, in order to hold up in court. If we got challenged on the decision, the judge would say, can it be found? How does it relate to this? And if we can't justify it based on this, we may lose those kinds of decisions. It's not a big problem for St. Genevieve because we are a small community and it's kind of more homogeneous, but in many communities, the case law is long about the importance of this document, so we're going to redo it. And I'm also going to insist in the process that we improve the strategic portion of this plan. The plan is still good, you know, and the city hadn't changed a lot, so most of what's in here is valid. But we need a better strategy. You know, what are our goals, what are our objectives, and who comes to the table to implement these goals and objectives? And if I have a criticism of this document, is it's not as specific in that area as it can be, and that will be our goal. And we won't do it by sitting in my office. I can write a perfectly good comprehensive plan, but it's Martin Toma's plan. And it has to be the citizens of St. Genevieve's plan. Mm-hmm. So we've got a group that I hope will agree. I've sent out letters to them to serve as a steering committee. We'll produce surveys and questionnaires. We'll engage the citizens in providing input. And at the end of this 6 or 9 month process, we will produce a recommended amendment to this document. It brings it up to date and sends St. Genevieve in the direction that the citizens tell us they want it to go. So, if you hear me now, let's be prepared. Somewhere along the way in the next 6 months, somebody's going to ask your opinion, and you should be prepared to provide it if you want to. Another thing that will be happening is it was brought to my attention that a lot of the houses in violation of the city ordinance, and I don't mean this as a code enforcement issue, but do not display their street addresses. Now, that may not seem like a problem to people, but when the ambulance is driving down the street trying to find your house, you really ought to have your street address. So we're going to make an effort, in a positive fashion, to inform the citizens of the need to put the addresses on their houses. And again, if you're listening to this, check to make sure yours is properly displayed so that the fire department and the ambulance and whoever can find your house in the event of an emergency. Back in the corner over there is a sign. I don't know which camera they're going to use to get this.
I think you can face us, because he can pick it up either way.
Yeah, it'll pick up.
You want
They all point the same way.
Tourism, yeah, well, there'll be 16 of them, and some of them will point different ways. But the
He's got it
Tourism
now.
Advisory Council and the Board of Aldermen have agreed that we need to improve the signage within the city. So we got a grant, and there's a sign committee, and we have the locations and the sign design, and so we're going to be taking down the signs we have throughout the city, many of which point to these places, but some of them are blue, and some of them are white, and some of them are big, and some of them are little. And we're going to try and make the signage more uniform so that when visitors come to our town, they'll know what to look for when they're trying to figure out
No,
where
you
to
can
go.
see that.
And so there, as I said, there's 16 of these. We're basically at this point waiting for permission from the Department of Transportation to change the signs on their right-of-way. And then we're also going to put up outside of the courthouse across from the title company, there's a little flower park there.
Right.
A kiosk sign, so visitors who are standing there can tell where they are relative to the things they might want to see. And another directional sign like that down at the Main Street restroom part. And just trying to improve the traffic flow and the ability of people to get around the city as we hope our efforts to promote the city as a place to come visit and tour are successful. This will be more beneficial to those who come here. There's been some talk about the it's the chicken ordinance, for lack of a better term. Sounds silly, doesn't
It
it?
does sound silly.
This is not something that Martin Tomo was sitting around his office one day thinking, oh, I think we need to regulate chickens. But we had someone come in and say, I'm thinking of buying a house here. Do you allow chickens to be raised? And the answer is, if you looked at our ordinance, no. And then the next day, a former alderman contacted the mayor and said, I think you should look at whether we should allow the raising of chickens in the city. So I started doing research. This is a big deal all across the country. Cities bigger than ours, Portland, Oregon, and in St. Louis, Webster Groves, and have adopted an ordinance that allows the residents to have chickens in their residential yards.
To go back to the way it was years and years
And,
ago.
and the question is, how do you do it so it doesn't become a public nuisance if you want to allow it? So we wrote an ordinance. It's in effect now. If you have chickens or you want to have chickens, you should come secure a permit and get a list of the regulations. And it basically says you can have 4 hens,
No roosters.
no roosters.
No roosters.
It got to be
That's
chickens. Can't be geese or guineas or emus or any other. It's a chicken ordinance. And then you got to build a coop, and you got to have a run, and you've got to keep it sanitary. And there's just some basic kind of common sense rules that will hopefully prevent the maintaining of chickens to be a problem, but also give citizens in these hard times an opportunity to benefit from the use of the eggs, and when the hens stop laying the meat, and just to kind of give them a break against having to go to the store. I don't know if you've read the stories about what's going to happen to the price of meat
Well,
in the near future, but it's pretty frightening.
It'll
So
go crazy.
I never would have thought of that, but it's something the Board of Aldermen has done, and after I did the research, I'm convinced it was a good thing. And
Well, there's a young girl out in St. Jude that walks a chicken
walks a chicken.
with a leash.
Yes.
Yeah, I've heard about that. There's nothing to prevent you from having chicken as a pet.
Oh, it's,
This- but,
it's so cute. It's the cutest thing.
it's only when they lay eggs, huh? Or you have.
and finally, and I will shut up unless you have something else you want to ask me.
Shut up.
Part of this, and part of the planning process for the city is to find ways to move our kids and the people who want to walk and bike and safely around town. It should be, and in as many ways is, but it needs to be a better town for pedestrians. It's almost like a perfect town for pedestrians if we could just get a few things done. Let's just get some things connected up here. And so with a grant, we have the Safe Routes to School, which will improve the sidewalk system so that kids can get into and out of the school complexes safely without having to walk on the roads. There's a hiking and biking trail that's underway that would get you kind of the great river roads. It'll go from downtown out to the landing for the ferry landing, and there's an opportunity to compete for grants. That in next month I have to submit a grant, but we have this community center that's been brought up as this great resource in the community.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're a kid riding your bicycle, you have to go out on a state highway to get there.
Yes.
So I'm going to propose a hiking-biking trail from Point-Based Subdivision, if the church will cooperate with the granting of some easements along the creek so they don't have to give up prime farmland, that kids or pedestrians could get on to get from the residential subdivision to the community center without having to go down one of the state highways. I mean, you're still going to have to cross Highway 67 or
But at least you won't be on the
61,
road.
I'm sorry, but you won't be out on the road. You can get it at the
Right.
traffic light and cross safely and and go on your way. So I don't know if we're going to get the grant or not, but I will be submitting it and collecting the data I need now to put it in. But even if we don't get this one, it's always the next time.
There's always another time.
But I think that's a good one. It really meets a lot of needs that this is called a transportation enhancement grant. You can't build new roads with it. It's designed to enhance your transportation system. So sidewalks, but they need to be sidewalks that go from one place to another.
That's, it was on Facebook, one of the girls put on there that the town can have this and this and this and this. Why can't they have safe sidewalks for our kids to run on? Like the schools run up through the
Yes,
park
yes.
and around.
Track, yeah.
They run
The
down
track.
the highway.
I know they
Yeah.
do. I've seen
And
them.
they
I
run
don't
up through the
disagree with
park
that. And they
on-
get lots of needs, and many of the sidewalks we have, have been there a while, and they've heaved, and they're not as level as they should be. And
Well,
it's-
up that way, up 4th Street,
Yeah.
there are hardly any
I
sidewalks.
know I'm a walker.
There's just a
Yeah.
couple little spots.
I
where
make
you
sure I
can
stay
walk.
off 4th Street. I figured out how to do it, so I only have about that far to go when I'm on the street.
But that's where the kids run, and that's what she was
Yeah.
talking about.
Well,
that
it's
there
just
needs to be
like up
sidewalks up there.
Washington Street. Washington Street, one side's got sidewalks and the other one has none,
Right.
Well, a lot of times and
Wasn't that because of the creek, though?
I think.
in many new subdivisions, you only put sidewalks on one side of
One
the street.
side, yeah.
But one's better than none, and we have a lot with none.
Yeah.
Right.
And the ones that you have in ought to connect to the other ones.
Now,
So-
does the city pay for the sidewalks, or do people pay for their
No,
own out in
the
front of
city
their-
does not own the sidewalks, except the sidewalks that were installed in the downtown area with the grant that they received.
So in other words, if you built sidewalks on these streets, the property owner has to provide the money for that, the funds?
The property, no, well, if you came to me and wanted to develop a new subdivision, you would be required to put in sidewalks.
But what about the
But the
existing ones
existing
now?
subdivisions, the sidewalks that are there are the responsibility of the property owners.
But if you don't
Okay.
have a sidewalk?
Then you don't have to put one in.
Okay.
But should we come in with a sidewalk grant,
Mm-hmm.
we would ask for permission to put sidewalks in these areas.
Well, that's why I was
Okay.
wondering, because I live on Market Street, and there's a lot of kids come from the trailer court there, and there are no sidewalks.
And
There's none in front of my house.
Sidewalk there at Ninth Street where they turn to go up to the school.
No, there's
is
none there
all-
either.
Right, there's none.
There's
There's
none
a
on
little
10th
bit-
Street either.
Yeah, I understand.
And that,
Now,
and
the
they
Safe
come.
Routes is gonna put some
Yeah,
sidewalks.
and they
in
come
there.
down Market Street and go up 10th and 9th, and there are no sidewalks.
So when sidewalks are bad outside of a person's home,
It's the individual's
Individual's
responsibility.
responsibility
Except for the
to
ones
fix
that
them.
the city has as a result of the grant. And
That's what I was asking.
That's part of our ordinance. That's
Okay.
not to say that we won't at some point be able to find funding to, and right now, the Southeast Missouri Regional Planning Commission is doing a sidewalk survey for every city in their district, and they're gonna do it for St. Genevieve. And there are needs, and they'll identify those needs. Funding them is a whole other issue, and maybe we'd be able to address issues like that. I think Larry Marlar's frequently brings to my attention, the board's attention, the need for sidewalks on St. Mary's. I see kids walking down the middle of the street. Well, he does. It's-
Well, and they run down that way.
Yeah.
yeah,
And they
run
ride
down there, too.
bicycles that way too.
And a lot of people walk, just
Right.
walk.
Oh, yeah.
But
I walk
if we-
down that way.
we put in sidewalks, then we're either gonna have to change the ordinance so that the city takes over maintenance of them, or they would become, maintenance would become the responsibility of the property owner, who gave the city the easement to put the sidewalks in,
Oh, okay.
but then would take over long-term maintenance and, repairs if necessary.
Okay. You answered my question.
I'll always answer your question,
Okay.
and I'll try to avoid telling you what I think you wanna hear.
No, you,
That's a do-gooder.
so what else have you on your list?
That's it. I could go into more detail, but I know it's about time to put people to sleep. Maybe I should do that.
Well, we got some other people.
Well, thank you
Okay.
very, very
Thanks a
much.
lot.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry we didn't have more questions for you, but.
It was-
Maybe next time we'll have dozens.
You may have noticed, all you have to do is say, microphone's open, say what you want to say, and I'll
Say
just
what
go on.
you can go on.
Well, I'm glad you did. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Appreciate it.
coming.
Yeah,
Okay,
thank
which one of you guys want to be next?
Well, we can all come up together, I guess. or-
All right,
Okay,
come
come
on.
on up.
We got,
You guys can come up and sit on one side, and you can sit on, or well, you guys come up, and then you can move up when they're finished. Sandy and,
Sandy and,
what's her?
Cindy.
Sandy and Cindy. Okay. You guys can sit on either our side, and then the other ones can sit. Come on. Come over here. And then Sandy and Cindy can sit down at the end down there. Yeah.
All right, I'll sit over here.
we need another chair here.
There we go. Now, come on, you can come up here.
He's
Nah, come
he's-
on.
He's bashful.
Come on up. Got a chair right here.
Come on over.
Okay, Lance, you got 10 minutes.
I know.
You gonna
Well-
do demos
Well,
tonight?
let's introduce him.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh,
my-
okay. I thought everybody knew Lance because he was here not too
Well, you
long
probably
ago.
know me, but you probably
We-
don't know these guys. down
Okay,
here.
we have Lance Boner, and you want to introduce the ones that are with you because I have no idea who they are.
Sure, these are other members of St. John Martial Arts. This is Mindy Church,
Hi, Mindy.
and this is Noah Church,
Hello, Noah.
and that is Zach Welker
Smiley.
and Nate Church.
And Nate. Hi there.
So,
And I'm gonna get my scissors out any minute.
Uh-oh.
right.
I told you she's bad with them scissors.
Look at him.
Okay, Lance.
Okay, go ahead.
Well,
The floor is
I'm
yours.
wasting your time.
All right. Well, anyway, we just thought we'd stop by and talk about what we've been up to and what we got going on in the rest of the year. 2 weeks ago, Zach went to the Tennessee Grandmaster Han tournament and placed in forms and sparring. And Zach, what'd you get?
Third in forms and second in sparring.
Wow.
Good.
Very
Yeah.
good.
And I bet if your hair was out of your eye, you'd have won first place.
You might have. I don't know.
Poor guy.
I know.
We're picking on
I won't pick on you no more.
He likes his hair in his eyes.
And I guess in 2 weeks, I think Mindy and these three guys and maybe a couple other students are going to go to a tournament in Rolla, Missouri, Grandmaster Han's Missouri State Tournament. And then on that same weekend, I'm not going to be there with them because Austin and I are going to Portland, Oregon for the
Oh, heaven.
International Friendship Open. So
great.
we're going to go up there. Me and him are going to do that, and then other half of the team is going to go maybe to Rolla. So that's the plan.
It's a little bit different when you just go to Rolla, right? in
Well-
Missouri.
Well, actually, no, but it's awesome that a group is going to go represent St. John at Rolla, and then we're also going to represent, St. John also in Portland, Oregon, the same weekend too. So,
That's great.
and
St. Jen's getting all over.
all over the place, So, I might, Austin might might get to fight somebody from Hong Kong or from Canada or something like that too. So, and then I'll get to meet some other different coaches from around the world as well. So,
Do you video that?
Uh,
Do they video it where you?
you can
show? You
buy
can
the
purchase
video
a video.
on
Okay.
this thing called Dartfish, and it actually, when you buy the DVD, it has a thing on the bottom that runs, and it shows you where your points were during your match and all the different fouls and stuff too, which is pretty cool. And of course, I always bring my camera too and take different shots, but no actual video cameras allowed out there on the floor. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, so that's what's going on there. So it's been
That's great. Yeah.
Great.
a busy,
That would be
busy
kind of
fall.
neat for Don to show something like that, to show they're actually what they're
What they
doing
do,
and
yeah.
stuff.
Well, I need to borrow Don's camera and take it to school one night and just have somebody videotape class and breaking some boards. And
Don,
doing some
did
stuff
you
so
hear
fast.
that?
Or maybe Gary would go do it too.
Yeah.
or Don could.
Yeah, send somebody out. Classes from 5:30 to 7 on Tuesday and Thursday. So, and November there's 2 different tournaments in November. I'm not sure if we're going to go to those or not. I might go just to help out and coach and be line judge. But if you got any questions for these guys, go ahead. I'll quit talking. If you want to ask them any questions about Taekwondo or how they got into it. Or,
Can you show us some of the moves? one?
We probably could. I tell you
You
what.
know what? He's low enough, he could crawl up on the table.
Well, yeah, you could just stand in the middle of the table and
Nate,
show
get
us.
up here and get on the table.
Get on the table, you guys are little.
All right, Zach, you do it in
That table will hold you.
All right, who wants?
Show us
Noah,
one
get up here.
thing.
Noah, get up
Smart
here.
is. Come on.
Okay, then scoot your chairs back if you won't get on the table and do it right where
He's
you're
gonna
at.
get up on
Yeah.
the table.
Okay.
Right where
All
you
three
are.
of you get up there. I think the table can
I
probably hold
think
you.
it
Yeah, all three get up there. We'll do a couple kicks. Jump up there. Come on, let's go.
Look how they're crawling like you.
Come on, let's go. It's the coach's order here. Let's go.
Can you stand?
Are
Stand
you
up.
guys that bashful?
I guess they're scared tonight. They don't act that way in class.
Okay.
All right.
Hold the microphone.
Yeah,
All right,
okay.
fighting stance. Face this way, though. Tell you what, Noah, you face that way. Nate, you face that way. Zach, you stay there. All right. Let's do front snap kick. Ready? 1.
Snap!
Thank you for the key out, Zach.
Snap!
2.
Snap!
3.
Snap!
Switch feet.
Snap!
1.
Snap!
2.
Snap!
3.
Snap!
4.
Snap!
Switch feet.
Snap!
All right. Let's do roundhouse kick. All right. To the body. 1.
Snap!
2.
Snap!
3.
Snap!
Switch feet.
Snap!
1.
Snap!
2.
Snap!
3.
Snap!
4.
Snap!
Switch feet.
Snap!
Chimbi. Any other?
What is
Very
that
good.
called?
Those are two different kicks.
Very good.
All right. I tell you what. Well, that's probably good enough. All right. Have a seat, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
I never did see anybody do that in person,
But
only
this
on
is
TV.
Nate and Noah. This is their mom right over here. So she's a big help in class. She helps out with the students and stuff too. So